After the heartbreak, when you deal with the stage of like, a lot of the stage of maybe the anger, the loss, you get into the space of how can I find these things again? How can I reproduce this feeling for myself again? Again, the ego is going to want to step into, trying to attach to someone else to try and find these things again, because that's the quickest way for us to feel validation, right? Is for the external to give it to us. But when you're able to actually look at that list and say, okay, how can I get this feeling of joy? How can I get this feeling of celebration? How can I get this feeling of being recognized and noticed? And if you're able to actually look and give yourself, a whole bunch of options of how you can create that for yourself, you'll notice you'll process the heartbreak so much faster. Last night, we were on a gauntlet call, which was really beautiful. And it was with one of my students who he's been through a massive, massive heartbreak right now. But the problem is, and here's the biggest thing I want to tell you guys also, the heartbreak isn't actually, and listen to this is going to give you a lot of insight into why heartbreak is so bad. The heartbreak in that moment isn't even all about that relationship as much as it is a reminder of the wounds you've carried over and over and over again, and then into the relationship. For example, what is it that we feel when we have heartbreak? Would you all agree we feel some version of abandonment? Yeah. We feel some version of rejection, possibly. We feel alone. If I want to put in a feeling words, okay. Feel sad, feel alone, feel like I may not find someone like this again. Yeah, that's a big one, right? Feel like I've lost maybe a life partner or a companion. I feel like I've lost love. I feel like I don't feel special anymore. What is that representative of? That feeling of the lack of all of that. It's the same feeling of abandonment, same feeling of rejection. It's the same feeling of invalidation. The heartbreak just reminds us or makes us believe that, oh shit, I'm alone all over again. I'm going to feel this shit all over again. I'm going to have to sit with myself and process and be with who I am all over again. And I don't like that. That's the real cause or the real pain of heartbreak. It isn't even as much about the other person. Again, why am I giving this to you? Because victimization is where we attach to the relationship so strongly and we don't want to leave, and we say, oh my God, now I'm nobody, I'm stuck, I'll never heal from this, etc. And the longer we stay attached to the person we've lost, the harder it is going to be for us to move forward. The harder it is going to be for us to cope. And therefore, the harder it's going to be for us to find ourselves. And therefore, the harder it's going to be for us to fall in love again. It's always extremely difficult to fall in true supportive love if we don't really know what we're offering in the first place. We don't really know what we're worth in the first place. We don't really know what we deserve in the first place. For example, I have a Ferrari and I don't really know what it's worth. I've never driven a Ferrari. No one's ever educated me on the value of a Ferrari. And so when I take it out on the streets, I might, if someone comes up to me and a friend comes up to me and says, hey man, I'd love to have a ride, I wouldn't really ask or check or how good a driver are you or not, what kind of streets are we taking out, because I don't really know what the car can do, how valuable it is or capable. I'll just be like, take it. Car's probably going to get trashed, probably going to get a scratch on it, which is going to cost me like $3,000 to fix over anything else, then more expensive than the other cars. And so that's actually what we step into in how we step into relationships when we don't know our worth. But what if you do start to discover that you are a Ferrari? What if you do start to discover how valuable you are? Then now when you take yourself onto the street or you're driving this Ferrari, you're like, no, I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't know if you can handle this car. This is a really powerful car. If you've driven something like this before, then yes, I'm not going to take it down dirt roads. I'm not going to like drive it in peak traffic. You know how you want it to be taken care of because you know what it's worth. That's an important, extremely important part of post breakups. Rediscovering what you're worth, rediscovering your value. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce a very special guest who, oh, sorry, I didn't finish my story about the guy who was on the call. My bad. Let me finish that and then I'll get to this. Sorry. So anyway, what he was feeling so much of, every time I talked to him, his focus was, man, she left me and she did this and she tried to text me. And I was trying to bring his focus back onto him, because here's another very powerful thing that you have to understand. Many therapists and many people in the inner work space may not give you this. But the absolute truth is you cannot control anybody else's actions. And so therefore, you cannot control your ex's actions. You can't control how they show up for you. You can't control how they respond to you. You can't control if you even get vulnerable, send them a text and say, I miss you, that they will actually be able to hold space for you in a good way and lead to better connection. You can't. And so what you can work with is why you're feeling or doing or wanting that in the first place. And so when he kept trying to talk about her, I kept trying to bring it back to him. And his ego absolutely wanted to avoid that. And then when I brought it back to him, the first responses of like what he was feeling and what he was going through were worthlessness, lack of self, beating up on himself so badly. And that was his ego's coping mechanism again, to break him down and say, I'm not worthy of a relationship. Why? Because he's feeling so much of the pain. But when you get closer to it, was she the one who made him feel unworthy? Was she the one who made him feel that like lack of self-worth? Was she the one who actually made him feel that he's a nobody? Or was this something he was carrying for so long and this breakup just reminded him of that? That's the real point. And that's the real point, because most of us want to just put a band-aid on a breakup. Most of us want to just address, and talk back to the other partner and say, no, we can compromise, we can work on this and go back and forth here and there. But if we don't work on our key wounds, which if I want to go a step deeper into and work out actually what sabotaged the relationship in the first place and actually what ended the relationship in the first place, if we don't work on those wounds, they'll keep happening again and again and again. And so coping with grief will be harder and harder and harder each time.
Hey, and welcome to the Inner Yats YouTube page. If you like our content, make sure you click the like and the subscribe button so that you get more of these amazing videos that keep coming your way.